Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 327 of a year of change. Today I want to talk about something that has sort of slipped under the radar, actually, and which is weird because where we're sort of mixing everything in together, you think it would sort of be not necessarily at the top of the list, but somewhere in there before we got to this point anyway. I started looking at, always trying to find something to think, okay, well, what can I bring to the table? I'm not the best person for advice by a long shot when it comes to exercise, obviously. But I try to learn as much as I can and try to get different opinions of things and then sort of say, okay, you know what, this is where the evidence is pointing me, whether I agree with it or not. This is where things are going. So this is what I try to present. And hopefully it's something that, you can go and you can verify it. You can take a look at the evidence yourself, which is usually why I put links. So that, almost choked again just now. So that you can actually go and say, okay, well, I can verify this with reputable sources. So I started doing the same thing this week. And I know that I've been trying to sort of get back to, well, Wednesdays will be a food thing. I want to keep food involved in this, especially where we're focusing so much on exercise, which has not obviously gone through. But this is sort of mixing the two of them. Now, there are a few caveats in here as well that I will bring up as we go. But in general, what really started this was my regular schedule. We'll start with that. My regular schedule is get up in the morning. Usually takes me about half an hour, sometimes 45 minutes to get going. I'm a very slow riser. Once I get up, I've never been a real morning person. Working a day shift is a little bit better. It's a little bit easier for me to get up. So as of right now, I'm getting up around 5 in the morning, which is horrible because I'm used to going to bed at 5 or 6 in the morning. But usually get up around 5, wander around, shuffle around, do what I need to do for about half an hour, and that's when I do my treadmill. So, and then as it is right now, I know I've been doing an hour for a very long time, but right now my schedule is 10 minutes of walking to sort of warm up, and then 10 of jogging, 10 of walking, 10 of jogging, 10 of walking, 10 of jogging. And then usually 4 or 5 minutes of walking just to sort of cool down so I'm not stopping from a jog to a dead stop, which I've tried a couple times and I don't like it. So I'll walk for a little bit beyond that just to sort of slow things down. So after I'm done that, I'm all sweaty and puffy and out of breath and everything else and gross. Then that's usually when I have my breakfast. I've never been a real morning breakfast person. And so with this, it's nice. I've been up for an hour or an hour and a half at this point. And so now I think, okay, I'll have some breakfast and go that way. And it's not like a huge breakfast. It's usually just a bowl of cereal. And good cereal too. Not like I don't undo everything I've done on the treadmill and say, well, I've done an hour's worth of work on the treadmill. Time to have some sugar-frosted Humpty Bumps or whatever they're called. Sugar bombs. There we are. Sugar-frosted frosty honey bombs. Whatever you have for your cereal. It's usually like the high-fiber thing with oats and all the other good stuff. Very little sugar. No sugar in it, actually, now that I think about it. Aside from what's in the oats. So it's a very good breakfast. It's usually just, a reasonable amount, actually measured out and everything else. So that's the start of my day. And then I finish getting ready for work. I go off to work and then I do my lunch, which is usually just some fruit. And then I come home and that's when I have my dinner or supper, whatever you call it. So that's generally been my schedule for the past few months. And I've gotten used to it and I've gotten to a point where this is comfortable for me. I know what I'm doing now. I've been doing it wrong, apparently. When I started looking at this, it was mainly to find out, what's the best time to eat, like either before exercise or after exercise, or, what should I be eating? Should it be is there a difference between eating before and eating after? And of course, whenever you start asking questions like this, then you get a ton of different answers all over the place. And I think I just spit on myself. I'm okay. So you get a bunch of different answers, and that's what I was expecting, is to go and say, okay, well, this source says to do this, and then we have this person saying to do this, and then there are fitness people that say to do that, and dietitians that say to do this, and it's all over the place. And try to sort of gather up as much as you can and say, this is, the most common answer, and this is what makes sense to us. But no, they're pretty much all the same, right across the board. There are a few stragglers here and there, but these are generally the same people that are bringing you things like, oh, have kale every day because it's a superfood. It's not. It's nowhere near being a superfood. Which we won't get into either because there's this whole kale bubblegum thing that's going on, which is just infuriating. Go look it up if you want. It's complete bullshit. But again, people are latching onto it because they go, oh, well, science, that doesn't know what they're doing. But this one, hey, a celebrity told me to do this, so bubblegum and kale. Idiots. Anyway, if you're on the bubblegum and kale diet, what the fuck are you doing watching this? Go have your bubblegum and your kale. For the rest of you that have a brain, don't have the bubblegum and kale. It's useless. Anyway, moving on before I start off on a rant. So, generally what they say to do. Now, here's where those little warnings come in. Because a lot of the information that I found really pertains to what we would say is a workout. Not the moderate exercise that we've been doing. Right now, we're still at a point where, we're doing, say 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever your time frame is of exercise that, within 10 or 15 minutes, we're breathing a little deeper, we're breathing a little faster. We have a little bit of a sweat going on as well. So all these things are, that's generally our sort of our guideline. And it's not something that we're just like huffing and puffing. You aren't just going at a dead run for half an hour as fast as you possibly can. We aren't to that stage yet. None of us are. We aren't going in, whoa, 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 police, everywhere. Just, there we go, they're gone. Scare the poo out of me. So anyway, I lost my train of thought. People dying everywhere, police sirens going off. I don't know what to do. So where was I? Okay, so I don't know where I was. We're going to start over. Right from the very beginning. No, we aren't. So, all right, this is what I was doing. This is what they say. There we go. Yes, the workout thing. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, a lot of this information is geared towards people that are actually doing a workout. And we aren't there. We aren't lifting weights and then switching over to do, dead runs. And then we aren't doing kettlebells, which I still aren't quite sure what those are yet. We aren't, going through a full workout. So by the end of it, we aren't just absolutely exhausted. We aren't sore the next day. We're still at a very, very early stage. So this is something that we can sort of take and go, okay, I know that this is the information that is being presented. We need to sort of adapt it to what we're doing. And that's what I'm trying to do. But what they generally say is depending on, what your workout is and depending on what your meal is, that's going to determine when you should eat. Now, what their main guideline is that if it's a regular meal, have it 3 or 4 hours before your workout. If it's a very small meal, like a little bowl of cereal or whatever it is that you have, then usually 2 hours beforehand should be good. If it's just something, it's a very small snack, have that about an hour beforehand. And the reasoning is that it's going to give you enough energy to finish the workout. Now, for me, when I first get up in the morning, I'm not hungry. And generally, I get on the treadmill after I wake up, and I have enough energy to get through it. There are some times I kind of have to push myself, but I don't know if that's more laziness. It's not that I simply can't do it. There have been a couple of times that I've done that, and that might be the reason why. But they say if you're a morning person, that's when you do your exercise, you try to get up early enough to have breakfast beforehand. The problem with that is that I'm getting up at around 5 o'clock in the morning right now, and I don't want to get up at 3 so that I can actually, have breakfast as soon as I wake up and then wait for 2 hours before I start my treadmill. It's not feasible. So for stuff like this is why I say these are the moments when we need to look at it and go, okay, I need to sort of adjust things the way that they're being presented right here. It's still a good guideline, don't get me wrong. And I think that, it's just that we don't have a lot of us don't have the luxury of saying, well, I'm going to schedule my meals around this time when I'm working out and I can push this ahead 2 hours. A lot of us know, you have a certain amount of time during the day and it's occupied doing certain things, so that's what you need to do. So unless you're waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning to do this stuff, it's probably not going to happen. But the reason why they say to do that is just so that you'll have enough energy to finish. But there is a risk as well, because, and this is part of the reason why I've never really gotten to that point where I'm going to eat something and then exercise. Number one, my old eating habits, and even now, sometimes my eating habits, when I eat stuff, I don't want to exercise after that. I don't want to do anything. And a lot of that is just simply because I would eat too much. So, and we all know that feeling. You eat too much and you're like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to nap. I'm not doing anything. So I can't imagine then just saying, oh, well, I have energy now, so I'm going to go and run for an hour. The other side of that as well, though, is that you do run the risk of getting sick. Not like a flu or anything like that, but, and again, we aren't at this stage yet, but if you eat something and then you do this really intense workout, you're probably going to barf. It's just simple reality of the situation. I don't think any of us are at a point now where, because we're only doing 20 minutes or so right now of moderate exercise. I don't think it's a matter of, oh, I'm going to barf everywhere because I had, a sandwich before I started. But it's still good information to sort of keep in the back of our heads, back of our minds, our heads and minds and brains and skulls. So there's that aspect of it. Then they say, okay, well, I thought, well, maybe it's something, that I should be just doing that instead of eating afterwards. But then they say you should be eating afterwards as well. So aside from the little precursor, which depending on when you have it and how much you have, should determine when you're going to exercise, they say about an hour or two afterwards, after you've done your exercise, then, well, we're skipping over the water. We'll come back to that. Then you should have something after your exercise. Something not too big, but something with protein and carbohydrates in it because you've depleted all your stores and you've burned away a whole bunch of stuff. And here's where the water comes in. They say 2 to 3 cups of water for every pound that you lost during your workout. Now, I don't know about you, but there is a bit of a weight difference. And I understand that they're saying that this is what people mean when they say I've lost water weight, because you sweated out. It's sweat weight. It's not water weight. So yeah, there is a difference between, when I first start my exercise to when I'm done, but I sweat a lot, like a tremendous amount when I'm exercising. You can't be 240 pounds and run for, 10 minutes at a time and not be all sweaty and gross. This is why I give myself such a huge window to cool down afterwards so I don't go to work still sweaty. So they say after that, have a little bit of something, but drink a lot of water. They say you should be drinking water every 20 minutes or so as you're doing your workout. But again, they keep referring to it as being a workout. And I think that there's this image of, this is really aimed at people that are doing like a high intensity aerobic workout where you're lifting weights and you're running and you're skipping and all the other things that people do when they exercise. So after that, so of course, it sort of goes on and says, well, depending on what you're eating, whether it's you don't want to have a huge spike in your blood sugar, so you want to have a quick little snack over here, and you want to make sure that you're eating healthy this and healthy that. And we've sort of gone through all the food stuff, but when you're really looking at it, I've been doing it wrong for a very long time, but it fits with what I'm doing right now. Now, at some point, we're going to get to a stage where we will be doing that really intense workout, like months and months and months and months down the road. So it might be beneficial at that point to say, okay, need to start switching things over because I'm finding I'm not having enough energy when I'm done. I'm still tired an hour or two afterwards, because a lot of this as well is aimed at sort of saying, well, you need to replenish this so that you're not just exhausted at the end of it and staying that way for the rest of the day. You need to just give yourself a little bit of something so that you can keep on going. And when you're starting out, you want to have enough energy to finish as well. So for what we're doing right now, whatever time you decide to have your food, as long as you're not eating, I'm going to have 3 eggs and 6 pieces of bacon and 4 pieces of toast, and then I'm going to do my exercise, because we simply won't do it. We know that we won't. But whenever you decide to do your exercise, whatever your schedule is actually allowing you to do, at this stage, I think we're okay, because we're still just doing moderate exercise. We aren't doing much more than if we were to start walking up a flight of stairs and just sort of keep going in for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. We aren't running up the stairs, we aren't jogging, we aren't doing any of that stuff. It's just getting to a point where we know that there's some activity going on. So I don't think that we really run the risk of getting sick at that point, or running till you throw up. I don't think there's really any risk of us depleting our stores of God knows what to a point where we think, oh, I have to have a peanut butter sandwich, otherwise I'm going to die. We have more than enough energy to burn right now. So being able to do what we're doing and, help to lose some of the weight, help to get rid of some of the just shitty feeling that we feel all the time. I won't get into the whole endorphin thing, because that's, again, for people that are doing this stuff that just like extremely, intense workouts. Couldn't even think of the word. For what we're doing, I don't think we really run the risk of that either. We're fine doing what we're doing. And I think whatever you find time to do, if you can fit this exercise in, if you have a 20-minute period during the day and you think, this is working out well. This is my time. I can go, I can do stuff by myself or with friends or whatever it is that you decide to do. Whatever it is that's keeping you going, that's what you need to do. So if it's 2 or 3 hours after a meal, then it's 2 or 3 hours after a meal. If it's just before your big meal of the day, have it just before the big meal of the day. In the long run, what we're doing right now isn't going to make too much of a difference. We aren't bodybuilders. We aren't athletes. We aren't trying to, go after a gold medal. We're mainly trying to get to a point where there's some regular activity in our lives. which is going to make things better for us than they are right now. So I should actually say this as well. All this information, I mean, there are tons of different places that you can get it, but I'm going to focus in on one spot, and it's sort of my go-to. It's the Mayo Clinic. It's a reputable source. There are actual doctors giving this advice and this information. You have dietitians and not nutritionists and all the other stuff that goes along with it. They can back things up and say, here's the proof behind this evidence. This isn't just simply proof behind the evidence. That didn't make any sense. Proof behind the statement. There we go. It's not just people saying, well, you need to do this and this and this and this. Oh, and by the way, we just happen to have a product that will let you do this for the low price of $39.99. All this information is out there, but it's from a source that says, no, this is what you need to do. So I understand that I'm doing things wrong right now, that I'm, not eating before my exercise, and then, I'm not eating right after, like within 2 hours after my exercise. It's usually about 6 hours after that, because I'm usually done by 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then I'll grab a coffee during the day, and then I don't go to lunch until like 12:30. So I know that I'm doing that wrong as well. But because I'm not doing an actual workout, and I don't think any of us really are at this stage, I think we're still okay. But the thing is that this is something to keep in mind, that long term, once we start getting, start bump things up to vigorous exercise, and then once you start doing it 3 and 4 and 5 times a day, once you get into a schedule where you find, okay, I'm doing stuff, I'm exerting a lot more energy now, that's when we need to, I think, sort of take a look at it and really pay attention and start tweaking things and saying, okay, you know what, I've hit a plateau because I'm not doing what I need to do. So I'm going to schedule this. I'm going to have to either get up early or exercise later or something. Have my meal when I'm supposed to have it. Have an after workout meal. Once we get to a stage where you actually go, no, you know what, this is a workout. I don't feel like I'm at that stage yet. I don't think really any of us are. We're exercising, which is fine, but I don't think it's really a workout. Like 10 minutes after I'm done my treadmill, I'm not out of breath. I'm still sweaty, but I'm always sweaty. It's part of being fat. But I'm not out of breath. I'm not huffing and puffing. My lungs aren't burning or anything else like that. So I don't really see it as being a workout. I'm not exhausted afterwards. I keep going throughout the rest of the day. I feel better usually. I think part of that is just that sense of accomplishment, and part of it is just, okay, you know what? I'm awake now. I've been active, which is nice. But as we start progressing and we start getting more and more intense, and these exercises get longer and they get harder, and this is sounding dirtier and I don't mean for it to be, as we sort of evolve into an actual workout, then yes, I think it would be smart for us to take this advice and take the evidence and look at everything and say, all right, I need to have a meal beforehand, time it out however I need it, have something prepared so that a couple of hours later I have either like a quick snack or, like peanut butter and toast or something. Yes, we're still allowed to have peanut butter. We still haven't cut any food out. So this is one good thing that you can't say, oh, I can't have that, obviously. It has gluten. Shut up. Gluten is fine. You're good. Have gluten and peanuts and everything else. So having something like that and being able to sort of map things out and say, during this window of time when my exercise is here, this is what I need to do to get the most out of it, then yes, we will start tweaking it at that point. But I think that's a few months away. We aren't ready for that yet. We're going to walk before we can crawl, I was going to say, which doesn't make any sense. We need to crawl before we can walk or run. Anyway, you know what I mean. Before you can actually run, you need to learn to stop shitting your pants, apparently. And so we've been taking baby steps through this entire process, and I want to stay on that track and just keep doing that. But it's always nice to have the information at hand so that you can go back and say, okay, here's where I am now, here's where I need to be. At some point, we're going to need to start adjusting. I know that at some point I'm either going to have to get up earlier or I'm going to have to exercise later. I'm going to have something where it's all right, I'm going to have breakfast even though I don't want it. And it doesn't have to be a huge thing. Even if I said, okay, I'm going to save my breakfast for that will be my, post-workout thing. And before I start, I'll have a handful of sunflower seeds or dates or something, reasonably healthy. That is, I'll do that about an hour beforehand. Because you don't want to just say, well, I'm going to shotgun a can of Coke and then I'll have all the energy I need. You want to have something that's still going to contribute to it. But not to a stage where you're having an entire breakfast right away. But all these little things, like trying to find out when you exercise and when you eat in relation to the exercise and all that stuff, it's very advanced stuff. And it's not anything that we really have to have right now. But I like the fact that it's something that we're getting to a stage where we know eventually we're going to need to prepare for it. So it's nice to have that information. So I'm going to put a link in the description below, said it right this time, for the Mayo Clinic. So you can go up, it's only like 2 little blurbs, just there are 5 little tips to say, this is when you should eat, this is when you should have, something afterwards and all the other stuff. But keep in mind, I think this is really aimed at people that are doing an actual full-on workout. So take it with a grain of salt and read through it and say, okay, this is, I know eventually, once I get to a stage where I'm doing actual exercise, whether it's, going to a gym or doing classes or doing stuff by myself, like on an app or a video or something like that, that this is where I'll need to be eventually once I'm, fit and I'm back to it, when I'm at a healthy weight and still doing exercise. That I think is going to be a good sort of jumping off point. But for now, even if it's a matter of saying, okay, well, I'll do my exercise and then I'll have my breakfast, or maybe you are one of these people that just say, no, as soon as I get up, that's when I have my breakfast, and about an hour later I do exercise, and it's going to work out well for you. Or if you exercise at night, then you need to sort of adjust your dinner time to that. So, but again, that's a long way away, but it's nice to have the information at hand so that we can always come back to it and say, all right, I know what I need to do. This is the stage, and we're going to know more than, checking the scale and checking our progress on different exercises. We're going to know when we get to a point where we think, you know what, I'm at that, just sort of at the cusp right now of having this turn into an actual workout. So now is the time for me to go in and start fiddling around, and just to make it a little bit easier so that we can get through it a little bit better. I still think that it's a very long way away for a lot of us, but I just like having the information ready, just in case we need it. So, but Mayo Clinic's been very helpful with a lot of stuff, like information-wise. A lot of the links that I've put in description have been from them, because they've been doing this for a very, very long time. And I put a lot more stock in people that actually are doctors than the people, even people that have been doing, fitness stuff for 20 years. There's a difference. They don't have, they have a lot of life experience and say, well, this is good and this is good. But every now and then you still run into one that goes, oh, and by the way, don't eat wheat because it'll kill you. Like, okay, nope, you're done. I got to go to an actual doctor that knows what they're talking about, that can prove everything and back it up with evidence. That's why I tend to go to them for quite a bit of stuff. But it's a topic that we haven't really brought up. But it's nice, it's sort of encouraging to know that we're getting to a stage where this is going to become important to us at some point. That it's not just simply a matter of going, well, I'm watching what I'm eating and I'm exercising. Now we're starting to get into the nitty-gritty eventually and saying it's not just what I'm eating and what I'm doing for exercise, but when I'm eating. Like when you start getting into stuff like that, then to me anyway, that's like, all right, that's really delving in deep with a lot of the fitness and nutrition and all the other stuff that's still way, way, way out of my league at this stage. I just don't know enough about it. But the fact that it's getting to a point where it's, you know what, I think we should probably start learning a little bit about it is very encouraging, because it means that we're on the right track. So we just need to sort of keep going, keep doing these little improvements. We'll know when we get to that point where we go, all right, today's the day I need to eat an hour earlier than I normally do to get the most out of this. And it's, at the beginning, it's kind of sounding like, now it's just sort of micromanaging everything. But at the same time, you sort of think, well, no, that means I'm doing something. I'm doing something really, really, correctly. Yeah, that came out weird. I'm doing things right. There we go. We're going to leave it at that. But again, I have a long way to go and a lot more things to learn. I need to educate myself on this, as do you, because let's face it, we are not the person to go to when they find out. No one would think to ask us and say, well, when do you think is the best time to eat before a workout? All the time? I don't know. I have no idea. I had to look it up. But Google is your friend, and go look at doctors and real things, that instead of just latching on to whatever the popular topic is at the moment. Go to verify all your information. Anyway, I've had that rant before, so I'm not going to do it again. Right now, I am going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please vote the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.